The 2012 doldrums have hit especially hard in places like Greece, Portugal, and Spain, where unemployment hit record levels, and more than 50,000 families were evicted. As the year wound down, a handful of people committed suicide after learning they would be kicked out of their homes. Now in Pamplona, a group of experts who helped carry out the evictions has said no more. Those experts? Locksmiths. The World's Jerry Haddon reports.
It's a pretty ingenious way to stop evictions, really. The police might come and drag debtors out, but if no one changes the locks on the apartment, the bank can't repossess it, because the evictees can get back in, and the legal proceedings to get them out again would take months, even years. Banks and government authorities have been evicting an average of 2 families a day in recent months in and around Pamplona. Locksmiths like Iker de Carlos are hoping to put an end to it. De Carlos says in this small city, the dozen or so locksmiths often know the people they have to lock out on eviction jobs. De Carlos told local TV that locksmiths worked often with the police and bailiffs, evicting families or elderly folks who barely had time to get their pants on before being put out on the street. De Carlos says he and his fellow locksmiths decided last month that they could no longer ignore such suffering. We're people, he said, and as people we can't continue carrying out evictions when people are killing themselves. De Carlos was referring to the suicide of a woman last fall outside Pamplona. As authorities, including Judge Juan Carlos Mediavilla, were arriving to evict her, she jumped from her balcony. Just after her death, Judge Mediavilla spoke out publicly, his voice shaking.
No podemos estar entre situaciones que por un problema económico.
He said, we can't let economic problems devolve into tragedies like this. The judge called on the government to revise legislation so the growing number of Spaniards who can't pay their mortgages don't end up on the street. Spain's center-right government initially said it would take immediate steps to protect about 600,000 of the country's most vulnerable, including families with small children and the elderly. A law was passed allowing some people to negotiate lower payments with banks, but it excludes retirees and any single mothers with a child over 3 years old. And activists say banks, which had promised to ease up on evictions to avoid a social disaster, have not done so. The social tension over evictions has led to protests across the country and grows as unemployment rises further. But the locksmiths of Pamplona say their tiny rebellion may be the most effective way to stop evictions, even if it's only one lock at a time. For The World, I'm Jerry Haddon.